Hello, I am Justina, chef from Viva Life, and today I will demonstrate you how to make 3 simple dishes which you could make for your Christmas dinner. This year has been a different one. Perhaps you're not going to be able to enjoy a Christmas dinner with your friends or family, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't put an extra effort and enjoy your dinner and treats just as every year. You shouldn't be eating beans on toast for a Christmas dinner. Of course, unless you want to. But today I will demonstrate you 3 very simple dishes, including quick walnut pate, chestnut roast, and easy food triplets. So let's begin with making our chestnut roast. So we will begin making chestnut roast by chopping our brown onion, just chopping it quite fine, and then we're gonna add celery and garlic, which has to be fried off in the frying pan first. There's a little bit of oil heating in the non-stick frying pan, which will help to give an extra color. So this year, perhaps you were considering not having Christmas dish. There's a lot of different places where you could buy pre-made Christmas dinner options as pies and even other vegan dishes if you prefer not to cook at home. But always there is that little extra pleasure of knowing what is in your dish and cooking it yourself. So that's why we are here. Perhaps getting some ideas. So that's always starts with a good idea, and obviously you will prepare in advance. So I'm gonna add our onion in here. It's already sizzling a little bit, so increase the heat so it starts browning. So we're gonna add 1 stick of celery. So this chestnut roast will be for 2 servings. So perhaps 1 portion for your Christmas dinner and next for Boxing Day. Could be frozen as well if you make a larger amount. Just adding the celery. Just giving it a little stir. So when you make your Christmas dinner, perhaps just for yourself, you can always make a little bit less how you would normally have, or if you prefer making a little bit more, you can always freeze it or use it for leftovers. Then on the Boxing Day, make a sandwich perhaps, or you can even make a soup or Brussels sprout gratin if you like. So you shouldn't be looking at it as a bad thing spending it by yourself. You have all the freedom in the world. You can have Brussels sprouts or not have Brussels sprouts if you don't want to. You can eat on the sofa, perhaps watch TV and Christmas movies, just the way you want to. You can have a lovely Christmas table set up just for yourself and have all your favorite treats on there. I wouldn't discourage you from doing anything you like on the day. Perhaps you would like to have a nice walk or maybe just make some nice biscuits. What I would like to do for Christmas Day is just play some Christmas music or Christmas carols whilst I'm cooking, just to have a little bit of dance. And why not? That really creates this festive mood. So now in the chestnut roast we have celery, onion and garlic, just browning up. Just a little bit of oil in there. Just gonna leave them be on a kind of medium heat. So next step we will have to do blend our chestnuts. So we're using roasted ready-to-eat chestnuts from the packet, not the puree version, the whole chestnuts. So we will have to add them in the food processor. So depending on what size food processor you have, so you have to add them possibly all at the time or just half at the time. So we'll just whisk them up together. We'll apologize in advance. It's going to be a little bit of noise. So as you see, they were whole, and now they look a little bit more like breadcrumbs. So it will still be very sticky. We'll add after our onions and celery is done. We can add those in, and then it will actually stick together a little bit more. All right. So that's cooking lovely. Couple more minutes. So now, whilst we're waiting with food processor for the onions and celery, we can start our pastry. So I will use our pastry for our fruit tartlets. So if you actually a little bit lazy on the day, you can use already a rolled pastry, which is puff pastry. There's two different versions. You can get a lighter version, or you can get a regular full pastry. Depending if you possibly Christmas is not the day when you wanna be getting lighter things. I would advise you getting the frozen version because it will give you a nicer rise and you can just roll it out the thickness the way you like. But if you just don't feel like making a lot of mess on Christmas Day, you just use already rolled out pastry. And then we're gonna have a cookie cutter. So we'll show you two different ways how you could cut them. And then we have frozen fruit. So this is mixed fruit. The other version you can have summer fruit, would have different berries, so depending what you like. So to prepare the berries, we're gonna add 500 grams of frozen berries of your choice, and then 2 tablespoons of sugar. So we're gonna mix that in. So that's an option here to add an extra vanilla extract perhaps. For extra Christmassy spices, we can add a blend of different spices, which could be cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, whatever you like. So just have a little sprinkle in there. Just gonna have this nice aroma. So just gonna mix that in. It's all mixed in. And then gonna set that aside whilst we're gonna do our pastries. So first things, you have to have a tray ready. So before you fill in the pastries, you just have to pre-line the tray and have it ready for you there. And then I'm going to use a cookie cutter, so whatever shape you like, but be mindful of putting berries in the center. So don't make it too small. So we're just going to cut a couple of circles out. Just going to have, here we go, a little circle. I'm going to put it on our baking tray. So that's an extra easy dessert if you want to just quickly make something. It's really nice and sweet and tastes like Christmas, because why not? And then the other version you could do is rectangulars. So we're just going to slice the edge, just keep the trimmings. You can freeze them, or you can just cook them as they are, sprinkle with cinnamon and sugar, and just twist them just to make little cinnamon twists. And we cut these into rectangulars. And then we're going to score the ends. So the corner bits, just cut them towards the corners. Possibly it's hard to see. Just cut them in. Just trying to create this kind of like a frame looking. Let me show you. So it's been cut like that. So they're still intact in here, but the other edges are loose. So what we're gonna do now, we're just gonna fold. So just gonna fold over to one side. So just gonna stick it on there and then do the other side. So creates this like a diamond shape. Okay. So make sure I just fix that there's no gaps and just press them lightly with my fingers. Okay, and then place them on the tray. Make sure, don't forget your onions and celery. It's browning lovely. We'll switch off the heat. So we'll just continue cooking. But it's almost ready. Just want it to cool down a little bit before we place it in the oven. So now we can add fruit. Obviously, we have a lot of fruit and we want to add as much as possible, but that might make them leak. So then we're going to add just a little bit of fruit. So if it's starting to melt, then try to leave the liquid behind, just add the berries. So just gonna add a couple of berries, and possibly smaller ones in the circles because they are a little bit smaller, and then the bigger ones in our other shapes. So depending how you make your shapes and how big are your slices, obviously less berries is a bit better, just so it doesn't actually make a lot of mess on the tray. The other idea is to possibly make a glaze afterwards with apricots. For myself, I'm gonna use oatmeal and a brush, and I'm gonna brush it on the side. So I'm just gonna show you how to brush. This will create an extra glaze on the sides. You can always sprinkle it with some sugar if you like. You can do that as well. That will be a little bit more crisp. So then maybe you wanna add less sugar in the fruit. Okay, so just brushing the sides, want extra shine when it's cooking. Beautiful. That's all ready to go in the oven. Here we go. So our fruit, just simple as that. Different sizes obviously will cook differently, but then it can go straight in the oven. Okay, and then I'm gonna start blending our chestnut. So just little stir, and then tidy away the trimmings. This is really easy because it comes in the paper, so as I just used it on the chopping board, just fold it out away and put it to the side. Really nice and easy. Don't have to be scrubbing all the different flowers off and washing your rolling pins. Nice and easy. Couple minute job. Here we go. Then we have our chestnuts back on. So what we're gonna add here is a little bit of black pepper. Okay. And then we're gonna need a little bit of lemon juice. Just helped it to blend, and some soy sauce. So I'm using reduced salt version. It's just a little bit lighter. Just gonna sprinkle that in. So that will help to blend, and as well as add this kind of umami flavor to it. The other option here, you can add any extra food, herbs, and any other flavors you like to have. Sometimes you want mushrooms or possibly some nuts in there. So now I'm gonna add our cooked celery, garlic, and onion. Just go in there. Just be mindful of the size of your food processor. If it's a bigger one, you obviously can make a bigger portion. Maybe if it's even smaller, you want to have half the recipe again. So that takes 180 grams of chestnuts, 1 onion, 1 celery stalk, and 1 clove of garlic. Right, so it's all in there. Just have to have a little whisk so it's all blended together and nice and sticky. Apologize for the noise. So you can slowly hear that it's getting more sticky, so it sticks to each other. So now I want to scrape the sides a little bit and make sure it's blending all the way through. So because we added the onions and the celery, we want them to be a little bit more fine and sticking to each other. Okay, lovely. That looks like that now. So it's a little bit more sticky. You can start pressing it with your fingers and see if it's sticking, because the next step is trying to push everything together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my chopping board and I'm gonna tip it on my chopping board. Use the little teaspoon to scrape the edges, because on the bottom might be all the sticky bits which will make everything a little bit more stickier. So you don't want to forget them and add them to your dish. Alright, so now we're going to start pressing, just shaping slowly. When it starts becoming a shape you like, so it can be a circle or rectangular, just the way you prefer your roast to be. So be mindful it's 2 portions. So perhaps you want to cut it in half afterwards, or you can even make 2 separate roasts. So gently start pressing it together, like making a snowball. So just pressing it together whilst kneading it down. Sometimes you might need to add a little bit of liquid or blend it a little bit more if it's not sticky. Okay, so I will try to make it rectangular perhaps. So it looks a little bit like a roast you would have in a tin. So next step, we're going to be adding breadcrumbs just to make that extra texture and make extra crispy. So I have set up 2 tablespoons of breadcrumbs. You can make your own breadcrumbs or you can buy them from the shop. So just make sure it's nice and lightly packed, and then just placing them on one side and then the other. Just turning them. Obviously, to decrease the waste, we're just only going to shake this around and dip them from one side and another. Alright, that looks good. So we have it. It looks like this, and then I have the tin set up with the foil. I'm just going to place that in and gently press. Yes, it does not fill the tin, but it doesn't have to be. That's just the roast. It's just cook this way and get crispy whilst a little bit of oil on the bottom will do the job. So it can go in the oven, 180 degrees, just like the pastries, for half an hour, or possibly when it gets brown, you want to turn it around. Pastries will be cooking for 20 minutes, so if you have a big oven, you can cook everything together. So just can go in. Alright, I am back and I cleared some of this mess. So now I'm going to show you how to make walnut pate. So I'm going to need a food processor. If you can't be bothered to be washing up on Christmas Day, it's okay to rinse that because the flavors will be very similar to what we just did with the Justin roast. So we will need some walnut pieces or walnut halves, depends what you can find in the shop. So 60 grams of that. Just adding them in the food processor. Then we're going to be adding fresh thyme, or you can use fresh tarragon. So just going to pinch the leaves off, and then we have a tablespoon of fresh chives. So that's going to add some extra flavor in there. Then we're going to add a half of red onion. So just have to chop them up quite fine. So this is really easy recipe for a starter. Possibly can be served with crackers or bread. Just going to peel our onion off. Okay. Just going to finely chop that up. Okay, finer it is, easier it is to blend. So just gonna add that in. You can always, if you don't like the strong smell of onion, exclude that or cook that up first. So then we're gonna add homemade breadcrumbs. So it's easy to make, just put them in the oven. As other things are roasting, just dry one slice of bread and then crumb that together. You can use food processor to blend it a little bit finer. So these are wholemeal, a little bit of toasted, so it has some seeds in there for extra flavor. So that's 60 grams of that in there as well. You can always add less. So then we're gonna add soy sauce once again for umami flavor and some salt. As well, it adds a little bit of liquid, so it would help everything to blend. Other than if you would just add salt, then it would be a little bit harder. So then we're gonna add a teaspoon of the tomato paste, and you can even keep it in a tube. Just use a little teaspoon to squeeze it in. Okay, a teaspoon in there. That will add an extra flavor and moisture. And then we're gonna have olive oil. So use whatever oil you prefer on your salad, perhaps not cooking oil. We'll just have a little bit more flavor. I know a lot of people don't tolerate olive oil because of its strong flavors, and sometimes it has a little bit of bitter aftertaste. So use a milder version of that. So just have a little mix around so the liquid reaches the bottom and it's easier for blades to blend. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So now I'm gonna make more noise. Do apologize. So it's already starting to blend. You can see on the bottom it's starting to blend more than on the top. So we're gonna give it a little mix. So make sure everything is blended evenly. So the mixture looks pretty wet, which is what we want to achieve. So it's gonna stick to each other very nicely. Alright, just a little mix all around the blender. If you use a larger food processor, perhaps you will be having less issues. So by the color of it, you can see I didn't put enough soy sauce. So depending how salty you like it to be, you can add a little bit more. As well as olive oil, you can always use just water to help it mix if you don't want to add too much fat into your diet. So adding blender, and do apologize. Alright, that should be nice and done. Okay, so just removing the blade, taking care not to cut yourself. Okay, last little mix. So if you like it a little bit finer, you can try blending it for longer. But if you don't mind it a little bit having a crunch, then it's fine to leave it whilst it's still little pieces. So you can see now it's quite dark because of soy sauce and because it's quite moist. So to serve that, you would normally have it possibly straight on the cracker or the toast. I'm gonna just add a simpler version of just having it on the side. So I'm gonna use 2 tablespoons, the same size preferably. So just gonna have some of that straight out of there and then press it on the spoon. So now I'm just having a spoonful and shaping with another spoon. You can always place it back on the other spoon just to have access falling off. And that creates a little like a spoon shape. So you can always add a red wine if you have one extra flavor in there. So just creates a little blob which could be spreaded anywhere. And then I'm gonna add some balsamic drizzle on the top. Especially since I haven't used wine, that can be served in that way very easily. So that's our main dishes. Let me show you how other dishes should turn out. So we have our tartlets, so they would look like this, especially if you put less fruit, they might look a little bit smaller. So then I have this magical instrument to add some fake snow. So just adding that on top would make it a little bit more Christmassy. Then you can serve it with cream, perhaps eat them by themselves, cold or warm, if you can resist when they come out of the oven and smell like Christmas. And for our main meal, chestnut roast could be cut like that. So that's the half of the portion which we made. Serve it with mashed potatoes, carrots, parsnips, Brussels sprouts, peas, whatever you like, because that's your Christmas and you can celebrate the way you want to. You can sit on the sofa and enjoy a meal whilst watching Christmas movies. Make it your own. If you feel possibly that you would like to make more friends, you can use our pen and pal scheme, which is created for older vegetarians and vegans, and perhaps you would like to check on our website for more recipes like this. It's vforlife.org.uk. So please check the website and have more inspiration. Possibly you would like to join us for Lunch Club, which is virtual lunch club, and we just show our cooking skills and we join everybody over a virtual lunch club table and just have a chat and a laugh. Perhaps you would like to do that as well. That's on our website as well. And hopefully I will see you soon. Enjoy Christmas your way. Thank you for watching.